if we are. Now, I think we can start. I think it's welcome to the people who has joined. Today we are two chaps basically. It's Rob and myself doing a sort of a presentation and have a conversation about it and talk about the journey we have done together as a customer and a vendor that's providing the solutions. And I think we have more a relationship which is more like technology partnership, where a lot of innovations has come out of ideas from the switch during the years. We started off actually back in 2006 with deploying a few of the old Nimbra 1 units, which is then was the first. Then we had a big tender that came in, I think it was 2010, where sort of the large network across the US and also outside of the US. So I think that's, and I know Rob has, you have prepared some slides to give us a run through on that. So I think that's, I think also for the audience, the idea here is also that please ask questions in the chat, and I will try to monitor that throughout the session. And if, try to ask those questions during to Rob and answer it myself. And if we miss something, we will definitely look at the questions after this session and get back to you via email, etc. So please be bold and ask questions. So I think Rob, do you want to take it away?
Sure. Yes. No. Thank you for inviting me. And as Kenth says, we've had a very long relationship with Net Insight, and we've built our core transmission networks based on Net Insight. But I just wanted to give a quick overview of what the switch is. The switch is very well known in the US and North America generally, but a bit less well known outside of the US. So the switch is a broadcast services provider. So we provide production services. We have 10, 11 studios in London, New York, Burbank, Los Angeles. We provide everything from full turnkey productions for sports, entertainment, and enterprise type customers. And we also provide parts of services. So if you want transmission from a venue, or you want transmission from part of Europe to somewhere in Asia Pacific, we do that as well. We provide video transmission. So it's been very interesting and very exciting to watch all the sports come back from after the pandemic, and we're excited to do more and more live events. We did the BAFTAs the other day. We did the Emmys and supported them. So it is very interesting, all the different things we get involved in, Kenth.
Absolutely. No, I think it's it's obviously we are going to talk a little bit about remote production and what you're doing on that part of it and how that changed. But I think for us and for you yourself, is remote production is something that you've done since day one, basically, right? That's what you have been providing.
Yes, yes. We have production control rooms in various locations in the US. We've got one in London, and we've been doing remote production for a long time. And with the underlying transmission network and technology, we're able to get signals to and from our production centers very easily. And what's really interesting about the pandemic is that we've seen more and more adoption of remote production models and people doing remote production, whereas they wouldn't have done that before. So people used to roll trucks, and now they either don't roll trucks or they combine trucks with other control rooms that are doing other parts of the broadcast. So the adoption has really been interesting, because I don't think there's a lot of people that wouldn't have moved that far. I don't think, unless they were forced to. So.
Sure. No, I think also on this first slide, I mean, it shows that you are sort of, in all this different vertical as well. Like, you're not just doing sport news, as you're now in esports and enterprise. And I think enterprise is what sort of like you have on the left corner, Samsung there, which is like a tech giant. And I do believe you do things for companies like Facebook and those tech giants as well, right? There you have Facebook Live, and so it's quite a a number of customers that you are providing services for. So
yeah,
I think
it's interesting.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because we do things for big customers like, Facebook and Apple and Microsoft and Samsung, product launches or announcements to the market and things like this. But we do a lot of small things as well. So we're not really, we're not just, we don't just do big productions. Clearly, we like doing big productions, but we do lots of small things for charities and for other things like that. So
yeah,
it's quite a mixed bag of things, and sometimes people will come to us just for transmission. They'll come to us just to do replay, for example, or something like this for a larger production. So we mix and match things a bit. So
sure. No, I think, I remember back like in 2006, 2007, actually when I was working in Asia, and we before we won the Beijing Olympics, I was talking a lot about the Switch, and and use that as a reference as well. I think that the Switch, in my opinion, is a very innovative company, but it's also that it's sort of come up with some really interesting and disruptive business models based on the technology that you are stitching together applications. And I think you call it this Switch It, which is sort of allowing the customers to provision and book services. Basically, it's a software-defined type of approach, because it's allowing the customer to use a web interface, log into a page and book the service. To get the terms and conditions and the price per minute. I remember we had, I think it was at NAB when it was someone from Switch doing it. It's pay per glass, basically, right? It's you only pay for the usage, and you choose the quality of the service that you want. If you want the uncompressed, low latency, highest quality, redundancy, and so forth, or if you are okay to take a compressed feed. And I think this is, we're talking, back in the Nokia crappy phone that you just could do SMS. I mean, you already did that then, and that's what I mean. It's sort of like you've been doing this for quite some years, and now it's interesting how you still have that, and now you're also moving things from moving towards IP, and then also a hybrid approach to have the managed infrastructure combined with the cloud infrastructure from us as well. So it's sort of the full range of the Net Insight, let's say, media processing and transport portfolios.
Yes, when we with Switch It, we were the first to allow customers to book transmission paths themselves. We charged by the minute, and people could select the quality, select the route, and then we provisioned in the system when they've asked for it to be provisioned. So, and
exactly.
and actually part of that was also the pricing was, I think, revolutionary at the time, because it was essentially a price for point A to point B, and it's the same price no matter where point A and point B were in the domestic US. So, and I think that was, that was pretty revolutionary at the time, where you normally paid by the mile and so on. So yeah, and we're with the so in the last years we've got more and more into doing remote production, long before the pandemic, and we've launched our cloud-based production capabilities last year, and we are about to launch the cloud-based transmission capabilities that we're integrating with our network. So why don't I just step forward to the next slide and just talk a little bit about our reach. So what's really interesting about the Switch is that, yes, we have extensive connectivity within North America for broadcast transmission and broadcast services. We don't just provide video transmission, we provide Ethernet and internet access at venues for broadcasters. And of course, we provide production services along with those. But we also connect through to Asia Pacific and Europe. We have an operation in the UK, in London, which houses one of our network operation centers. We have some studios there as well. But we have, I think we have 3 transmission paths over to Europe. They're all 10 gig that carry traffic into North America. And we have connectivity out to Sydney and to Singapore, where in Singapore we have a network node where we, in addition to our normal private fiber transmission services, we're able to downlink in Singapore. So with Singapore, Los Angeles, and London, we've got pretty well full global visibility of satellites, so we can downlink any single signal out there for aggregation, if you like.
Okay. Yeah.
And we work with our partners to get to pretty well anywhere, within China, Oceania, Africa, Middle East, and the rest of Europe. So it's really extensive, the connectivity that we're able to deliver. We often do events in China, for example, and we have a lot of customers in Australia and New Zealand that we provide all sorts of services for.
I was thinking, when you say also partner, is that leased lines or leased capacity, or is it sort of connecting with their equipment or terminating equipment, or
we connect in data centers and other sort of transmission hubs. So, for example, BT Tower, we connect into various Equinix data centers. We are connected into. We've got very high capacity into Equinix and AWS and all of the Ashburn, of course, which houses a load of different cloud-based providers. So we've got very high capacity links into connection centers that allow us to connect with, for example, China Unicom or MTI, or a bunch of different carriers that we work with to get to places where we don't have direct POPs with our own network.
Yeah. And this, what you're showing here is sort of, I mean, this is where you have Nimbra POPs, but you also obviously have, like, flight cases where you are deploying for ad hoc events.
So we don't have private fiber connectivity everywhere. We do have an extensive network, but where we don't have connectivity, where we can get fiber, where we can get fiber access, we'll deploy equipment in a flight case that includes Nimbra equipment, which is part of what we use in the network, and that allows us to provide fiber services. So our network provides uncompressed, very low latency, very high quality video transmission and ancillary services. And if we can't get fiber to a location, we then will use internet, or we'll use our cloud-based transmission system. So we have we deploy a lot of IP connected equipment that we can then bring onto our network, carry across our network, and then push out again somewhere else as IP, or perhaps directly to a customer that's connected to our network. So
that's great. I think we can talk. I think you're also using a lot of the Nimbra 400s for the ARQ and that type of, which is now quite interesting with the combination of doing over a public or open internet, basically. So it's
what's really interesting with that is that it's sort of our Swiss Army knife. We have a number of suppliers we use for IP connectivity, but the most deployed is the Nimbra 400, and it supports all of the main broadcast IP protocols. What's really interesting is that we're able to manage it remotely. So we don't have to rely on local support or local connectivity to have full visibility into it as far as metrics and configuration and so on. And that's really important when you've got a lot of these deployed. So
absolutely, that's good.
Let me just press on. So this is what the domestic the switch network looks like. So this includes our main nodes and our customers who are fiber connected to us. What it doesn't include are all of the customers that are connected with HD local loops. So we have, as I said, we have 3 network operation centers. One's in LA, one's in New York, the other one's in London, and they manage this plus the international locations together. And each of these links is at least 10 gig. It might be several 10 gig links. They could be SONET or they could be IP. So we use more and more IP IP connections at 10 gigs. You know, we've deployed 100 gig connections in certain parts of the network now to service high capacity customers. So we've got a number of customers, particularly in the Northeast. We have a lot of traffic in the Northeast, so we have 100 gig deployed there, which and we're gradually moving that out across the network. So.
Yeah, it's very impressive when you see it like this, and you know, like you say, it's a mixture of different line speeds and the media that you are connecting to. I think you also have in the US what you call the SDI local loop, right, which is also a way that you are providing services over HD local loop, right?
So that's not on this map, interestingly. So so that's in addition to this map. So at each of our main nodes, and we have about 50 of them in the US, we connect out to customers with fiber to Nimbra, Nimbras on customer sites or in venues and stadiums and so on. But there are also customers where we connect with HD local loops into a SDI router, depending on where you're from, in our main node. So our main node comprises a Nimbra chassis, communications equipment, inbound, out of band control, and an SDI router, which supports our local loops out to customers. And we have a lot of customers that use them not only for connecting to us, but we also let customers connect through them to other customers nearby. So if a customer might have 2 local loops into us from different sites, and we'll let them connect through our SDI router to themselves or to other people nearby.
If you would explain what, you know, it's not all countries that do have like the HD local loop, right? So that's basically that you get the 1.5 gig, or how do you explain what it is? And then you can actually multiplex different types of services like Ethernet or whatever you need, ASI services on that line speed, right? Is that correct?
So the HD local loops, they're essentially an SDI connection between 2 points that's provided by a carrier. And normally you just get one video path across it, but you're generally able to push ASI through it as well, but not always. It depends a little bit on the equipment involved. So if you can push ASI through it, then you can multiplex MPEG transport stream onto the ASI, and so you can carry more video channels across it.
Exactly.
So it's becoming less and less in demand, I guess, and you know, but we still have quite a lot of customers that use it. So,
and the reason it's not as in demand today, is that more that people are sort of leaning towards going more over IP and the pricing points of doing that, or is it what's the?
It's just the technology is a bit limiting. If you're going to have a 1.5 gig circuit, and you're better off putting a 10 gig fiber optic or a 2 gig fiber optic connection in, for example. So you know, you can get more circuits across it. It's, you know, it's an SDI circuit, carries 1 channel, and you know, if you essentially have 2 of those, you could put in a 2 gig circuit and carry, you know, 20 video channels with J2K compression and the like. So I think people it's a bit restrictive. That's why. And frankly, there are places where less and less carriers are actually offering it. So.
Because I think the price point on those was quite reasonable from a carrier's perspective. That, you know, it's less costly to get an HD local loop versus having a 2.5 gig or a 10 back in the days, I would say. I don't know.
Back in the days, I think it's flipped now. I think it's changed a bit, so it's a bit easier and a bit less painful to get high capacity connections.
It's good.
The little boxes in the sea here that you can see, they're our Popiner boxes. So they're actually fully fledged flight cased nodes that we ship internationally for events, right? So we might have something at Roland Garros, we might have some something, at a venue in China, and it'll be one of our flight packed POPs that we then connect into the local infrastructure. So
sure. And you also have do you provide OB trucks as well? Do you have that?
We do, but we don't own any. So
okay.
we have a packaging service, as it's called, where we will do complete turnkey production and transmission for sports events. So someone might come to us and say, look, we've got 20 or 30 sports events. Can you just give us the program output, right? And we'll provide all of the production staff, for the technical staff, the equipment, the transmission, and we'll rent the OB trucks from a number of different suppliers that we work with to do that. We have centralized control rooms, which we own and we operate. But if people want a package service with a production for a set of events, then we can quite happily do that with OB trucks as well.
Yeah, we received a question from Jonathan Peacock here. Can the switch host customers' equipment at their main site as part of the service?
Yes, so we have done that historically. We tend to prefer to offer everything as a service, so that we don't actually host. We don't have a price for hosting customer equipment. We would see what equipment you need. We would then supply that to the customer and build it into our infrastructure. Yes, it's possible. It depends a little bit on the situation. So.
Sure, that's good. And I think at an event site, I mean, you're taking the camera feeds. You're sort of taking everything that comes from camera, audio, and all that, and then you carry it. Basically, you do not provide the cameras and those type of equipments in.
When we do packaging, we do, in fact.
Yeah, okay.
We provide a full turnkey service. We'll provide we'll provide cameras, cameramen, producers, audio guys, TDs, the whole lot, and the OB truck and so on. But again, we work with a lot of different production companies as well that are directly connected to our network, and of course, there's a lot of production companies that have OB trucks that we provide the transmission for. So, we might provide part of that or all of a packaging arrangement.
Yeah. So you truly are a glass to glass provider. So.
I guess so. Yeah. Well, no, actually not. So what we don't do is we don't go beyond primary distribution. So we will distribute to head ends and things like that, but we don't distribute to viewers directly. So
sure. Yep. All right.
So on that note, we do a lot of we're increasingly doing more sort of satellite replacement type distribution arrangements where we'll take feeds from a number of sources and we'll distribute them to 30, 40, 50 different takers who then onward distribute them to their viewers, for example. So just some numbers. So we're connected to 208 broadcasters and news outlets in the US and Canada, 154 sports and entertainment venues. So pretty well all the main venues we're connected into with fiber, and we're connected to a wide array of different studios, including our own studios, of course. So generally we have connectivity, and if we don't, we can get it there. So that's the point.
Sure. And then you have those flight cases as well that you deploy on.
Yes,
so I mean,
exactly.
it's more than these numbers that you sort of provide.
Indeed, exactly.
Yeah.
And we have a bunch of different enterprise type customers that we're directly connected to, that we do big events with and productions for and distribution for. We have a concept of something called pull feeds. So if anyone's on our network and one of our customers wants to distribute content, we'll put it into one of our pull feeds, and anyone on our network can then book a transmission circuit to that pull feed and get the latest Apple event or the briefing from John Hopkins about the different aspects of the current pandemic or that sort of thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's,
so this is quite interesting.
So this is interesting,
Yeah, so this is so we were doing this. We were working on this before the pandemic hit, actually, and this is our what we call Mimic. It's our Mimic production. This is our cloud-based production service. So it's a managed service, and we provide it in two ways. You can either ask us to produce stuff with it, so we'll use Mimic to do your production for you, or you can have access to it on a sort of a subscription basis, and you can do your own productions with it. And it's connected into our network, so we can get signals on and off our network from it. It's also we can provide bonded cellular and IP encoders to land signals in it if those aren't on the network, and you drive it entirely from the web browser. So this is you have clipping and editing, and you have production switching in the cloud. So if you have a main event like a Super Bowl or a large entertainment show or whatever, you might want to put signals into Mimic and do your clipping and editing and social media posting from it. And you might want to do your secondary production, so your shoulder programming and that sort of thing with it. The other way to use it is actually do the whole production with it. So we have a number of people that in the esports area and the less known, more niche sports market that are using this in order to produce events for their customers or their viewers. And it's really interesting because you get to see a much more diverse set of customers with this, so that it's not your sort of CBSs and ESPNs doing top tier type sports games. You get a whole range of different types of people that are looking to this to do production and clipping and editing for social media. So it's really interesting. We're very excited about it, and we're very pleased with the way this is progressing.
So are we. No, I think it's very interesting to see. I mean, you have the Switch network is obviously your managed infrastructure based on the NIM brand and also utilizing cloud. And you mentioned AWS there, but that's one place that you host. I guess you have private data centers as well, or cloud. Let's say that you're not.
So the Mimic production platform is hosted in AWS. We offer the service in Europe, in the US, and Asia Pacific. And so we have it in Dublin, for example, in AWS in Dublin. We have it in Ashburn, and we have it in Sydney, in Australia, and Singapore. And so, but that is all on AWS. Our Mimic transmission product, which we're just turning up now, in the process of launching. So that's hosted on a variety of different data centers. And one of the good things about it is that we're able to be a bit data center agnostic. So we're able to leverage the best attributes of the hosting companies that host the different elements of it to maximize its use. So, for example, there might be one provider of cloud-based services that we use in one area, but they don't have very good coverage in another part of the world. So then we have it operating on a different. So we're currently hosting on two data center providers at the moment, which is useful, and that gives us pretty good coverage. And as time progresses, if there are needs in different parts of the world that we need to get to, then we might turn up on a third data center provider. So, and it also protects us a little bit from the pricing strategies of each of the cloud providers, because they are, they're in competition, but once you're embedded, you want to make sure that you've got a little bit of a lee room to move out if you have to. So.
Exactly. No, I think it's and this, I mean, to have in mind there, I think also we both as a vendor as well as you as a service and the service level that you provide is always with 99.59s, right? So I think it's built
Yes.
around that as well, and you sort of utilize. It's a hybrid approach where you can utilize your managed infrastructure combined with cloud. I mean that's sort of. Oh, here we go. I'm ahead of you.
So yeah, so I mean, essentially, the Mimic transmission service offering allows us to offer globally, a point-to-point and point-to-multi-point distribution offering that it's not. It is for compressed feed, so it is 20-30 megabit per second type contribution type qualities, and less if 5 megabits per second as well if required, and it's higher latency than you get from our fiber network. I mean, our fiber network is absolutely pristine video quality. It's very, very low latency, and it's 5 nines. So the Mimic transmission network is also extremely reliable because we've designed it that way by design deliberately. But it offers a different type of service. It offers good quality video transmission, and the latencies are around a second or so. So it's not your instantaneous delivery that you get from the fiber network, which is important for top tier events. It's important to be able to talk to trackside talent. It's important for sports betting, these sorts of things where time is of the essence. It's that's where we use our private fiber network, best quality, best latency, and the Mimic transmission network provides very good quality, but not as good as the private fiber network, with higher latencies involved. So these are all, these are H.264, H.265 encoded signals. Sure. It uses RIST. It can support SRT and things like that. So SRT, ZigZag. So it's quite agnostic to IP transport technology as well. Internally, it uses RIST, which is great because it maximizes the performance, lowers the latency, but still there is latency. So
sure. So I think I think that, looking at this is sort of like you're combining the best of two worlds, and sort of have this full manageability and have the capability to actually do low latency, like you say, like you traditionally do for tier ones, and you can combine the two and offer more services basically on the same infrastructure. Yes. So and further reach.
Yeah, I was just going to say that the way we get the high reliability out of Mimic transmission is to leverage our private fiber network, actually. So we use it for we provide connectivity into our Mimic transmission network using 2 data centers for each flow, if you like. So if a data center disappears, and there's been a number of those the last few weeks, in fact, data centers in France particularly having a problem, and so if there's an issue with data centers or connectivity at data centers or networking at a data center, you still have one data center that's carrying your flow, and we connect through our private fiber network. So we will carry international traffic across our private fiber network. We will use our fiber network for part of the delivery chain to increase the resilience of the service offering. So it's very important, actually, because if you go to a cloud service provider, they offer 99.99% reliability, which is quite a large amount of time that you're not carrying video for broadcast out of the year, for example. So you do, it's very important that you have something that, because we'll be carrying full-time circuits on this, and in fact we are already in our systems, and you need to be able to upgrade, take systems down, maintain them, and all those things, and retain the reliability. So yeah, it's a very important part. You know, the fact that we have a Nimbra network which provides Ethernet and IP connectivity as a service allows us to leverage the cloud-based transmission technologies, but provide high quality and high reliability.
Sure. I think you look at this drawing also, I mean, on the lower part, you have the, fiber going up there, but you have also the Nimbra 400, and you're combining also with the 4G and 5G bonding, which is then going, I guess, SRT or RIST or whatever, ARQ or retransmission protocol, those ones have that you use, and it goes into the Nimbra Edge, and then you can actually point that into your managed infrastructure again.
Exactly
So
right.
I think that this hybrid and this type of let's say topology and the way that you combine the two is quite interesting, and that's how you sort of provide your 9.5s type of services, even though it's in a cloud environment, right? So
5 nines, I hope.
Yeah, what did I say? Sorry.
9.5s is not as good
Rob.
as we're aiming for.
No. Thanks, Rob. I'm just providing technology. It's not.
Yeah, no, I think. I mean, the 5G is really interesting for us because at the moment when we do major events at venues, we build in fiber if we need to. But there might be only a few events a year at that place that we would be providing services, and there's sort of a crossover for perhaps 5G can help provide the bandwidth necessary to provide high quality transmission and not have the expenses of building into venues. I mean, as with fiber, internet, bonded cellular, LEO satellites will be really interesting as well. We're looking at that quite closely. These things are just ways of us getting to our customers to provide services that we believe we excel in delivering for our customers.
I think if you look, you launched it earlier, but I think if you look at how you've with the customers who are more like new sports and second league, third league, is that more predominantly going over the cloud infrastructure, or are they actually looking at more the low latency, high capacity type of going all the way to uncompressed?
Well, electronic news gathering, if that's what you're asking, and they've been using bonded cellular for years and years, and they've always, they use bonded cellular, they use iPhones, they use all sorts of things to get it from the field. And there's always a trade-off between quality and latency for that, and it's the same with unless you want to manage IP network or a managed fiber network with IP, you can't control the you don't have sufficient control to reduce the latency a lot. Right? There are technologies that can deliver under half a second with WebRTC and things like that, but the quality isn't great, and they're a bit susceptible to picture breakup. So you end up with putting in buffers and a bit of delay, ARQ, to both in bonded cellular and in Zigbee, SRT, RIST. The delays involved in those are always around retransmission and coping with packet loss and so on. So the ENG guys have been doing it for a long time. We do, I think, 5G. The interesting thing about 5G is that with the millimeter wave bandwidth spectrum available, you can get much higher bandwidths. The 5G as deployed at the moment outside of the millimeter wave, it's about the same performance as the 4G networks, in fact. So when the millimeter wave spectrum starts getting used properly, as some people are starting to do in venues, then then we'll see how far the reach is. I mean, the issue with this sort of thing is that it's very localized, and it tends to be where there are lots of people, and the base station sites are connected by fiber, so there's fiber nearby anyway. If you could probably just get that straight in. So LEO is interesting because the low Earth orbit satellite constellations going up. There's 2 or 3 of them, and we'll treat that in the same way as we treat bonded IP cellular connectivity. But that probably provides you connectivity in places you really can't get any other connectivity with reasonable bandwidth. So I think there's something interesting to be had there.
Exactly. No, I think it's very interesting also. I mean, looking at smart stadiums where they will have the private 5G network as the means of the connectivity within the stadium, but you're sort of bringing it out to the nearest fiber pop where you have the Nimbra and go into the switch network again. So I think it's going to be very interesting with where how it's going to evolve and how quickly, because it's definitely not just for that. I mean, 5G overall is very interesting. I was thinking on this as well. You look at this. I mean, how about now you're using the Nimbra both in the cloud and Nimbra Edge as well as the MSR, but synchronization obviously is a very important part for you and your customers, that you are the synchronization between all the different feeds coming from cloud or in your managed infrastructure. I think this is also some aspects that people need to consider when doing this hybrid approach, that you have the means of orchestrating the both worlds, so to say, and have the synchronization part in order as well, right? So I think
synchronization is a nightmare.
Exactly.
I mean, on the private fiber network, it's not a problem. We synchronize everything up. It's delivered if the customer wants it all in sync, so that's fine. In our cloud transmission systems, that depending on the equipment we use, that can be also delivered completely in sync as well. But the way you sync things up is you delay everything but the latest arriving one, so it just adds latency as well. So but it's pretty good in the mimic transmission system. So and it's a capability I don't think very many other people have, to sync up as well as we do and deliver it as well as we do. So
I think we this was really, when you have fun, time flies, but I think we have like 2 minutes. I was thinking on this note.
Well, there you go.
But I'm thinking on looking at this, where you now you are sort of creating the hybrid infrastructure. You're doing all this remote and distributed production. Do you have an example of where sort of you had is a lot of talent scattered using the cloud infrastructure to do sitting in a hotel, or is there an example that you have there for doing commentary from one site and graphics
we've done. I mean, we did some work for PGA Tour, which we were central to that production in Burbank, and we used our complete transmission network. I think we had 7 or 8 different locations that had remote commentators, remote operators of different equipment. We had there were a couple of control rooms involved in the production. I mean, it was absolutely the largest remote production that I've seen. I've been in the broadcast world for quite a while, so that was an amazing thing to see. I mean, but what's amazing is we do this every day. We just finished doing the Oscars, the transmission side for the Oscars, and that was quite complex because there were lots of remotes coming in from different parts of the world. There's a Union Station in LA. And there was just a lot of moving parts in it, and because of the flexibility of the gear we run, we were able to deliver that. And there's always last-minute changes, right? That's the problem. I mean, it's not like this. So this is designed, everyone's happy with it, and then at the last minute, a whole load of it changes. It's not ideal, but we're able to cope with that, which is great. So,
exactly. And a lot
to do. To our operations guys that deal with this every day.
And the Nimbra network, right? It's so easy to operate.
I knew I'd forgotten something. Yes, the Nimbra network. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, Rob, and thanks for the people who joined. And I hope that it gave you some. For me, it was really interesting, and it's always great to talk to customers like the Switch. It's definitely a very, very interesting journey we've done, and we still have a lot to go. So that's
Cool.
from me. Thanks, and thanks, Rob. And we see
Yeah,
each
well,
other
look,
hopefully.
thank you
Yeah.
for watching, everyone out there, and
Yeah,
I hope you
yeah.
found it a bit interesting. So,
Yes.
thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye bye.
Bye.